All right, the name of this video is how to order Sunburst pleating, and I will be going over the Sunburst pleating order checklist. This is a very thorough order form that goes over and touches all of the main points that you need to think about when you're ordering pleating. Now, if you're watching this, I'm going under the assumption that you have already come to this page on our website and clicked on custom pleating and read this page, and you have decided that you either want Sunburst accordion pleating, Sunburst side pleating, or Sunburst box pleating. 95% of Sunburst pleating out there in the world is Sunburst accordion. 95% of it is Sunburst accordion. And here is a gallery of some shots of Sunburst pleating and how they can look totally different depending on the type of fabric. So going back to this order form. All right, so the first part is you fill out your information, and step one is to actually circle which type of pleating you want. Okay, as I said, Sunburst accordion is the most common. These two are a little bit more tricky, especially when it comes to pattern making. It just has a lot more specific things to consider. So if you're new or basic, then I would recommend just sticking to Sunburst accordion, especially if you're intending on doing the pattern or the cutting or the sewing of this whatever garment you're making. These can be a little bit more advanced. All right, so the first thing that you need to know is that Sunburst pleating is not done in yardage. Sunburst pleating is done in panels, and one panel is basically one semicircle. So this is one panel. Over here you'd have 3 panels. So it does not come as yardage like straight pleating does. How many panels you put into a garment is really something that you must determine yourself based on what you want the garment to look like. So if we come back and look at this gallery, for example, this picture over here, this garment has 3 panels in it. Okay, this garment has 1 panel for the skirt and 1/4 panel on the front and 1/4 panel on the back. This garment over here has 1 panel for the body, 1 panel for the sleeve, 1 panel for this sleeve, and 1 panel is in the back. Actually, the body has 2 panels, 1 for the front, 1 for the back. Okay. This one garment over here had several panels. I believe this one had about 5 panels of pleating. This garment over here has 2 panels, a front and a back. That is very important that you understand how many panels you want. If you're not sure, then you can leave this blank, and when we discuss it, we can tell you what kind of effect you want. Or if you show us a picture of a skirt, a photograph that you like, you're inspired by, we can recommend how many panels you would need. Step 3 is we need your measurements. If it's just a skirt, we just need your waist and your hip. And if it's Sunburst, really, we don't really need your hip, because Sunburst pleating, oftentimes, if it starts at the waist, you don't really need a hip measurement, but it's good to give us all of your measurements and the skirt length. Okay. Step 4 deals with your fabric. Have you purchased your fabric yet? Yes or no? Do you need help with it? If you already purchased it, please let us know whether it's coming from somewhere else, and this is where you would put that information. What's the color? What is the weave? Is it a chiffon? Is it a taffeta? Is it organza? What's the fiber content? Is it polyester, silk, viscose? What's the width, and how many yards are enclosed? Okay. Now, a couple things to know is that sometimes the fabric you send is too thick, and maybe we might not be able to do it in your desired pleat. Make sure that you mark the fabric face. If you don't mark the fabric face, then we are not responsible for pleating the wrong side of the fabric. Sometimes what people consider the fabric face to be, they do not use it as the fabric face. So if you're not using the shiny side of a fabric, for example, and you want to use the matte side, then please make sure that you let us know. You can put a note on the actual fabric and just pin it on there and put that this is the face. Okay. Another thing is that if you send us your order form, for example, on Monday and your fabric doesn't come until Friday, we will not consider the order complete and we will not quote you a standard turnaround time. Usually things take about a week to 2 weeks, depending on the complexity of the job and the number of panels. But if you send us your fabric a week after you send us your order form, then we would consider that a week from when we got all of the data. And if we have any missing data, if there's any missing data, you omitted something and you don't get back to us when we call you, we don't consider that the order has been submitted until we have all of the information in order for us to go ahead and proceed with the order. All right, pleat size. This is, if you're new to this, then I would leave this part empty, but this has to do with the number of pleats per panel. This is explained in detail in our textbook, Pleating Fundamentals for Fashion Design. If you are not familiar with it, then leave this blank. But otherwise, if you're reordering from us, you would know AC 48 accordion, Sunburst, 48 pleat. Our standard sizes are 48 pleat, 64 pleat, 72 pleat, and we have other sizes as well. But this is something that we would need to get in discussion with you after you send your order form if you're not familiar with what we're discussing here. Cutting and prepping. Are you going to be cutting and preparing your fabric for us, or are we doing it? Are we cutting it for you? If you are cutting it yourself, please let us know before you cut it. Oftentimes people do cut it incorrectly. We do have a separate document which will tell you all of the points that you need to watch out for. It's called this Sunburst cutting checklist, and there's about 20, I would say about 20 points on there that you need to discuss. But basically, the biggest issue with that is when the radius waist is less than 6 inches. So the radius waist is basically this section over here, how much of this is cut out. So just like I said, before you cut anything, please let us know. A lot of times people miscalculate this, and then the skirts or gowns are a lot shorter than what they had originally intended it to be. Another thing is that, are your panels seamed together? Do they have bulky seams? I'll tell you what I mean by that. So this skirt over here is different fabrics that have been seamed together. So in this situation, the seams are not thick and bulky, so it was okay, it's fine, and they're all the same quality of fabric. So just let us know if there are any seams or anything appliqued onto the skirt. Now, are we cutting circular panels? Are we cutting quarter panels? Are we cutting a handkerchief or quarter handkerchiefs? So you can circle whichever ones you want. Normally, this is how they're cut. If you were to order one skirt, one panel, then you would get one like this. If you were to get, if you were making a dress and you wanted a center back zipper, then you would probably want one of these and one of these. So you can circle that over there. And the same thing with this. And if you were doing 3 panels, then you would probably want 3 of them like this with no quarter panels. All right, hemming. So hemming of Sunburst panels, this is a giant confusion with people. People always think that Sunburst panels are hemmed beforehand, and while they can be, they are oftentimes very problematic because the hem will not be level, especially if your fabric is something that is like a chiffon. So if we look at this example over here, the bias grain would be over here, okay? So this direction is your grain, this is your cross grain, and then over here is your bias. So if you hem this beforehand, the chances of it stretching along the bias grain when it's hanging is very, very good. And while it can be avoided, those are usually avoided during production issues, where during the development process, the pattern is adjusted so that it's slightly shorter. So if you're just ordering it for a particular garment, then it's actually easier to just hem it afterwards. And believe it or not, it's easier to press down every single pleat rather than going through the process of patterning and recutting and testing. We can do it if you like, but it is a tremendous amount of additional work that is often not needed. But this section deals with that, and that's basically it. You can read more information about it over here in our blog. And another thing that really happens a lot is that when this is hemmed, it's often stretched, which can create damage along the hemline. So overall, we don't really recommend it unless you're doing production. And if you're doing production, we can help you figure it out. If you're doing handkerchief skirts like this, you can hem it beforehand. It's not a problem because this is you're sewing along the cross grain, and here you're sewing along the grain, so you will have no stretching issues. And as far as it stretching on the bias grain in this direction, it'll get a little bit longer, but it doesn't really matter, so it's fine. But if you wanted it, you would circle which one of these that you wanted. And then step 8 has to do with our product development services. Again, this is where you would be hiring us if you wanted something to be patterned so that it would be perfect, so that it can be pre-hemmed, or if you have something specific that you want us to do, we're more than capable to do that. If you would like to set up a Skype session, then just go ahead and indicate this over here. We do give a free 15-minute consultation on all of our orders. So once this order form is filled out completely, then we will review it and we will discuss any issues and questions that you have. The cost of our development services after that is $125 per hour. And that is it. These are the ordering terms. And again, these are the problems that can occur with your order. I will set up a separate video where I'm going over specifically explaining what the ordering terms are. But as far as ordering Sunburst pleating, that is it.